In this video tutorial, I will explain how to send push notifications to mobile phones in AwareIM. Push notifications are messages that a phone receives from various applications. They are usually accompanied with a beep, and you can view the contents of the message even if the application that sent the message is not currently loaded into your phone. Starting from version 7.1, push notifications are supported in AwareIM. Your AwareIM-based application can now send push notifications to the registered phones. In this tutorial, I will explain what developers need to do to implement sending push notifications in their application. Note that push notifications are only supported for native mobile applications and are not supported for browser-based applications. So before you use them, you need to build a native mobile application using the PhoneGap build. Please watch a separate video tutorial about building native mobile applications for more details. Push notifications are always sent from some AwareIM process, using a special action of the AwareIM rule language. However, before this action can be used, the developer needs to prepare the application for sending push notifications and perform some setup activities. This only needs to be done once. So the process consists of two parts: setup, which is done once, and using the rule language to send notifications from a process. Let's talk about the setup first. Push notifications are sent using special cloud services that are provided for free from Google for Android devices and from Apple for iOS devices. When you use the action to send a push notification from an AwareIM process, AwareIM automatically calls these services: Google Cloud Messaging Service, or GCM, for Android devices, and Apple Push Notification Service, or APNS, for iOS devices. In order for AwareIM to call these services, the developers need to set up these services for GCM and APNS respectively. In this tutorial, I will show you how to do this for the GCM service, and you will need to follow the documentation to do this for the APNS service. So to set up the GCM service, you need to create a Google project by going to the following URL. Let me go to this URL now. You may need to create a Google account if you don't already have one. It's free, and sign in. Here I already have a project called Push Notifications. If you don't, it's easy to do this. There is a Create Project button somewhere. Once the project has been created, you need to record the project number, because you will need this number for AwareIM. To do this, go to IAM and Admin, and then click on the Settings menu item. You will see the project number here. The next step is enable the API for push notifications. To do this, go to the API Manager and then click on the Enable API button. Then search for Google Cloud Messaging. Then enable this API. Here I have it enabled already. Then record the API key, as you will need it for AwareIM. You can select the Credentials menu item here, and you will see the key displayed when you click on this item. That's all you need to set up the GCM service. Setting up APNS service for Apple devices is more complicated. You will need to register as Apple developer and obtain the appropriate certificate. You should follow the instructions on the Apple site. Let me go to this site. Go to the Provisioning and Development section. Make sure you read it carefully and follow the instructions. At the end of the process, you should set up a certificate on your server machine, and you need to record the path to this certificate as well as the password. You will need this for AwareIM. Once both GCM and APNS services have been set up, you should enter parameters of these services into AwareIM. Once again, this should only be done once. To do this, select your business space version, right-click, and then select Push Notifications from the pop-up menu. Then enter project number and API key for the GCM service, and path to the certificate and password for the APNS service. I will add some garbage values here. Once you click OK to save the values, AwareIM will automatically add the following elements to your business space version. Mobile phone object. This object will store special parameters of the mobile phone that push notification will be sent to. I will explain this a little later in more detail. It will also add mobile push notification notification. This notification represents the actual message that will be sent to the phone. Once this has been done, you can start the configuration work. Before the user can receive push notifications on his phone, he needs to sign up for this and register his phone for push notifications. He would normally do this by clicking some button or a menu item in the application. So your application needs to provide this button or menu item. This button should start a process, and this process should have the following action: mobile subscribe. This action will register the phone of the user for push notifications. It will automatically create an instance of the mobile phone object and put it into the context of the process. This instance will have a unique registration ID that will be used by the cloud service. We can see this ID here. AwareIM will also automatically determine whether it's an Android or iOS phone. It needs to know this in order to understand which cloud service to use when sending a notification to this phone. Let's modify the mobile part of the CRM sample application to add a menu item that will register the current phone. We will store all registered phones of the current user in a reference attribute called phones. So I will add this attribute to the staff member object. The type of the attribute will be mobile phone, and multiple allowed will be ticked. Now I will write a process that will register the current phone. The first action of the process will register the phone. As I mentioned before, this action will create an instance of the mobile phone object and add it to the context. So I can use this instance in subsequent actions. Here I will add the phone to the list of phones of the current user. Now I need to add the command to the menu of the mobile application. When the user selects this menu item, his phone will be registered and added to the list of phones. So we go to the mobile perspective and add an item that will start our process. Now we can add a process that will send push notifications. The action that does this is called mobile push. It sends the mobile push notification to the instances of the phones in the context of the process. We can actually have two processes. One will send notifications to the phones of a particular staff member, and another process will send notifications to all registered phones. Let's start with a process that sends notifications to a particular staff member. The staff member object will be input of this process. First, we need to create a notification and initialize its attributes. This is the title of the message, and this is the body of the message. Here we can also specify some parameters of the notification, whether it will have sound, badge, color, and so on. We can see the list of all attributes of the notification here. Possible values of these attributes can be found if we look up the documentation of the GCM or APNS service. Now we need to actually send the notification to the phones of the user. First, we need to find the phones and put them into the context. So we find phones that belong to the specified staff member. And finally, we can send a notification. The process that will send notifications to all phones will be similar. I will copy and paste the first process and I will just change it. We will no longer need a staff member as input to this process. We will change the message and instead of finding the mobile phones belonging to the staff member, we will be finding all phones. That's it. Okay, so now we just need to provide the way to start these processes. Note that the processes will most probably be activated not by users on their phones, but by a system administrator on his desktop system. So we will need to add the corresponding menu items to the non-mobile part of the administrator menu. That's all we have to do. Unfortunately, I cannot show you how this works on a real phone, as this will require me to build a native mobile application and upload it to a phone. But hopefully you understand the idea.